until the philosophy which hold one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. Everywhere is war. It's a war that until they're no longer first class and second class citizens of any nation, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes. Miss a war that until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race. This a war that until that day the dream of lasting peace, world citizenship, rule of international morality will remaining but a fleeting illusion to be pursued but never attained. Now everywhere is war, war.
Folks, you saw me shaking my head there. The French don't want us, but they want our resources. Britain doesn't want us, but they want our resources. America doesn't want us, but they want our resources. Russia, China, Germany, none of them want black Africans, but they can't do without our resources. Then to make matters worse, even Saudi Arabia, China, Libya, all discriminate against black Africans and treat black Africans like second-hand citizens. Yet on a daily basis, we brag about how intelligent we are and how academically superior we are. Then at the end there, you saw our people drowning on the high sea, trying to cross over to a place where they are not wanted. The reason this is the case with us is that our leaders have brought shame to us. And it's time for Africans to stand up, not to fight a war, not to get violent, but it's time to unite and in a non-violent way bring the fight to our leaders. We don't have to fight America and France and Russia and China and Britain to get what we want. If we fight our corrupt, dirty, crooked rulers at home and bring them to shame and replace them, America and China and Britain and France and even the peon Saudi Arabia and Libya and all of them will start respecting us instantly, because we're going to have at that point leaders who can stand up to fight for what Africa needs, not what they want for their pockets. Think about it. Hello everybody. Once again, this is Fred Nwankwo coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Island TV. As usual, I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on where you are around the world. You heard the introductory music there, and yes, it's Bob Marley's War. Very, very appropriate music. But believe it or not, my show today is not about war. I'm not advocating war. I'm actually indirectly with sarcasm going to be advocating for peace. Peace through non-violent protests and non-violent resistance. Folks, non-violent resistance works. And if you look at the United States in the 60s, Vietnam War, civil rights movement, women's rights movement, it was very chaotic everywhere. It was non-violent resistance that brought the government to their knees. Non-violence works. I want you to see this video, then I'll continue on the other side.
Can peaceful protest really make a difference? Research shows that between 1900 and 2006, campaigns of nonviolent resistance were more than twice as effective as their violent counterparts. Even in oppressive, authoritarian conditions, protesters can tailor their campaigns to succeed. When large, nonviolent groups of people organize concentrated methods like protests, along with dispersed methods like boycotts or strikes, even the most brutal regimes have trouble stifling the resistance indefinitely. Meanwhile, movements that opt for violence often unleash terrible destruction to their communities, usually without achieving their goals. Because citizens can choose to either show up or sit out to support peaceful campaigns, nonviolence allows all kinds of people to participate in some form. Nonviolence is inclusive across gender, age, race, and class divides, so nonviolent campaigns have been on average 4 times larger than violent campaigns, and lead to a better representation of the people, rather than just those in power. This presents not only a potential numbers advantage, but also a tactical one. While violent uprisings are mostly made up of able-bodied young men, nonviolent campaigns often include women, professionals, religious figures, or civil servants, and reduce the risk of violent crackdowns from security forces. So no matter where you live or who you are, your voice can be heard through nonviolent civil disobedience. And ensuring that all voices are heard, no matter the cause, is the only way to guarantee a truly civil society.
Africans. Africa is ripe for change. Africa is ripe for a revolution. What's going on in Niger that started out in Sudan, Chad, Guinea, and Burkina Faso is not a coincidence. It's a message that is divine. And it's time for Africans to get together to take their continent back. And if Africa must change, it must start in Nigeria. If Nigeria is going to change, and as the leader or perceived leader on the West African corridor, if change is going to come to West Africa, it must start in Nigeria. And how can change start in Nigeria when Nigeria is led by not just a very corrupt, most crooked politician on earth, but couple that with the most corrupt politician who is also in the pocket of the United States? And you wonder why the United States wants Nigeria to lead the West African army against Niger to fight for America and France and Britain's interest. Watch these videos that follow, and I'll continue.
The United States wants to do a Green New Deal that's going to require rare earth minerals. The United States wants to keep funding the military-industrial complex while they can't produce sophisticated weapon systems without this kind of stuff. Any kind of smart technology or green technology relies heavily on this stuff, and so this is in many ways a battle for the future of economic dominance. What's at risk here is
a struggle for the future of economic dominance. Economic dominance in a world where Africa controls at least 50%, if not more, of the natural resources that are going to be the key to that economic dominance. And unfortunately, the people in power in Africa that are supposed to protect the interest of Africa in that race for economic dominance are working with the people who historically have had only one interest in Africa, which is to exploit Africa.
And so you have to wonder, why was Bola Tinubu never indicted in the United States? Why was he allowed to keep so much of the initially seized money from his bank accounts that was said to be involved in drug trafficking? What kind of deal was he able to strike with American authorities? And you have to also understand that Bola Tinubu is the perfect kind of imperial puppet for the United States. This is what they do over and over again, is they find a compromised figure, somebody that they can exert leverage on, and they prop them up. And the second that they become no longer useful, they go after them and they get rid of them. They put them in jail or have them taken out, So he for what's going on in Niger right now and in West Africa, he's the perfect person for the United States because they can basically make him do whatever they want.
For what's going on in Niger right now, he's the perfect person for the United States because they can make him do whatever they want. Yet Nigerians are not listening. A tribunal is meeting to decide the fate of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Nigeria's last election. The evidence at the trials were overwhelmingly against Bola Ahmed Tinubu. If this tribunal returns Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Nigerians stay home and do not occupy the entire length of the country until Bola Ahmed Tinubu goes, then we deserve Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and we don't deserve anything else but to be enslaved to America, France, Britain, Russia, and even lowly Saudi Arabia and Libya and every other light-skinned Arab country.
Whatever they want. The bigger problem here is that the Nigerian Senate has rejected his request to invade Niger. So it looks like he's trying to use his power at ECOWAS, the regional bloc that he chairs, to have an invasion. And just 2 days ago, ECOWAS said that they would attack Niger, but they won't announce when and where or how.
But first, a story that no one's talking about is the massive pipeline that is nearly set to go online. Now, it starts in Nigeria. It flows through Niger on its way up into Europe.
Are you following me? Step by step, you'll start to understand the desperation of Bola Ahmed Tinubu to get into Asharok. And you'll also start to understand the games that America kept playing like Maradona back and forth, staying uncommitted. They want to be the champions of democracy in the world, but they have a puppet who may protect their interest in the entire West African region. And it's mind-boggling. The next graphics I show you will make you understand why African leaders are so corrupt. There's a foundation started in 2007 by the Sudanese billionaire Mo Ibrahim. This foundation set out $5 million to award to an African leader every year if they identify an exceptional African leader that has worked hard to promote the interest of his nation on everything he did for that year. Each one is shown and the year when they won the award. The award was established, the foundation was established in 2007, And the first awards were received in 2007. The first awards were received by Nelson Mandela and Joaquim Chissano, the president of Mozambique and the president of South Africa. And after Nelson Mandela, the president of Botswana, Festus Mogae, won the award. After the president of Botswana, the award was now won by anybody in 2009 and 2010. That's how bad African leaders are. $5 million is the winning prize that goes to the winner to spend any way he likes. And Mr. Ibrahim couldn't find an African leader those 2 years that qualified. Then in 2011, he went to Pedro Perez of Cape Verde. 2012 and 2013, there were no winners. Then in 2014, the president of Namibia won that award. Are you surprised? 2015 and 2016, again, there were no winners. Then came 2017, Ellen Sirleaf of Liberia won that award. I remember her receiving that award. And again, for the next 2 years, 2018 and 2019, there were no winners. This is the shame of our continent. But are you surprised? Why do they want to win $5 million when they can embezzle $20 billion? That's why you don't see any Nigerian president showing up in that, because he knows that that's money he gives his girlfriend to go shopping in London. So 2021 and 2022 again, there were no winners, and we are waiting to see what happens in 2023. Folks, there you have it. Who wants $5 million to spend any way they want simply because they've done the right thing, when they can embezzle 1 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion, 20 billion, and nothing happens to them? How do you regain the control of your continent when your continent is in the hands of crooks who would sell it to the highest bidder to stuff their pockets? Africa has problems, but Africans have to wake up.
Africa is in the middle of a revolution right now. Take a look at this map, just published on Friday. These are all of the African nations that have now signed military agreements with Russia. And even a few of those in white are getting ready to partner with Russia as well. Damn, that's a lot of red.
Well, I'm not advocating signing military agreements or economic agreements with Russia. I'm not a fan of Russia. I'm a big fan of the United States. I have a good idea how the United States works. I also understand that the United States is always going to protect the interest of the United States. And that's why I'm saying to African countries, you must protect the interest of African countries at whatever cost. Somebody has to pay the price for the future generations to enjoy and be able to work with America and Europe and Russia and China on an equal playing ground. Until we decide that enough is enough, we're going to continue to be exploited. The starting place for saying that enough is enough is that we have to boot out corrupt leaders, regardless of how wealthy they are and regardless of how many thugs they have working for them. We must stand up and put an end to the control of Africa by Africa's thugs and Europe and America and Russia and China's exploiters. And going back to America, we can't let America exploit us. There are a lot of good people in America. I live in America. We have to find ways to work with the good people of America to help us fight America from exploiting us. Until we come together as Africans and fight to regain our continent, we are going to remain in limbo. Let us do what it takes to get ourselves out of this limbo of living in oppression, oppressed by our own leaders and oppressed by our neocolonial masters. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Fred Nwankwo coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Ireland TV. And until next time, good night and God bless.
Sitting here in limbo, but I know it won't be long. Sitting here in limbo, like a bird without a song. Well, they're putting up resistance, but I know that my faith will lead me on. Sitting here in limbo, waiting for the dice to roll. Sitting here in limbo, got some time to search my soul.